That is weird. I'm getting some sort of funky crap from the intro.
Yeah, I had mine unmuted, so that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just muted it again.
At any rate, hello everyone. Welcome to the show. You can already tell how this show is going to go. This is just going to be like a conversation between friends and talking about preparedness and all that stuff. Liberated
good.
Lady, what's up?
It'll be good.
Yeah. Plan B's in there. Liberated Lady, Tiger, Denise. Those are the names I've seen so far. What we're going to do tonight, since I've got these two on that know a whole lot about more about medical stuff than I do, we're probably going to talk about that quite a bit. Any questions we have in the chat, hopefully I see them. Derek, what's going on? Derek's in the chat. Hopefully I see them and we can answer those later on. If I do miss it, just post it again and we'll get to it. We're going to talk about some cyber stuff because that's what Kevin does as a day job. Been doing it for quite a while. Are you still doing that or are you?
Yep.
Are you? Okay. And then Kevin's got his van build that we've talked about a couple times and he's made some progress on that. So I want to pick his brain on that. I sort of think of it as a mobile bug out location. I don't know that Kevin, that wasn't your driving force for doing it, but
it's my home, but it kind of works out like that. So it's all good.
Yeah. And that's sort of how your whole preparedness thing is in general. Anyway, it's everything you've done throughout your life, basically sort of lends itself to the preparedness mindset. So yep. You've also got the Wilderness Safety Institute, like I said, or used to have that. So there's a lot of medical knowledge that you have, you and Lisa both. So we'll dive into a lot of, not necessarily the SHTF full-scale Mad Max chop your arm off type wound care stuff, but the
real stuff, the stuff.
Yeah, the most likely.
And no suturing and no.
Yeah.
Rub some clean dirt in it and you'll be fine.
That's right. Not soil. It's got to be dirt, not soil.
Clean dirt.
Yeah. Liberated Lady here in the chat, a full-time traveler, is an eye-opener, too fun. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. That whole, the mentality, like our preparedness is basically home base. We got everything here. Liberated Lady, completely different story, completely different mindset. So at any rate, Lisa, how are you tonight? Not that I don't know, been around you all day long, helping you with the horses and all that stuff, but
I'm just noticing your speakers, because I'm using Dale's computer, like one of his computers right now. Your speakers up here are way better than my speakers. I might have to confiscate these and take these up to my computer because these are really good.
That's because I'm always watching videos and editing videos and doing all that stuff. So I can't have the twangy because then I think my videos are bad and I'll spend 14 hours trying to edit them.
And Kevin, are you in your van right now? Because if you are, that is an awesome van.
Yes, I just got done with the build. I spent a whole lot of money on tools, and this is the outcome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I ripped off the roof and put that big old window in, and hung a mirror.
Very impressive.
Hey, Denise said here, how's the arm, Lisa? I'm sure she noticed you don't have your sling on today, but that's because you're stationary, correct?
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts. I think I had physical therapy the other day, and then Dale helped me with my physical therapy yesterday. So it's a little sore today, but it's okay.
And it's going to be a couple more weeks, and then it comes off for good.
Yep.
So, all right. So Brandon's in the chat too. Brandon, what's going on? So what we'll do, we'll start off, I suppose, a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about your truck, Kevin. And then we'll go into, I'm going to go ahead and put it back on this one. This is a lot easier. Then we'll go into a little bit about alternative energy. And I sort of want to, because there's three different sort of opinions here. We've got Lisa, who is she doesn't geek out on the solar stuff like I do. And then we've got you, who takes the geeking out to a whole nother level. So there's three different levels, when we're talking about, what you can do around the house with flashlights and things like that, up to like what I'm doing with a 100 amp hour battery, or what I just did, all the way up to what you're doing. So you've been on before, talked about your van and what your plans were for doing that. If you want, you can go back to watch some of the older shows. He's got a couple pictures. where are you? Because you were putting a whole lot of battery power in there, Life PO4 battery power, and getting basically a self-sustainable vehicle to travel across country, right?
Exactly. Yep. What's that?
Are you there yet as far as
So I did the cross
you want to
country.
be
So
with the build?
I am currently at mom's house. I came up to the Northeast for the holidays to spend the holidays with the family. And while I'm here, I'll be redoing parts of it that I don't like, and then finishing it. And then I'll be leaving, hopefully in January, at the end of January, provided there's no snow. Or I'll be leaving in February if we get, hundreds of feet of snow and I'm stuck here. Then I'm stuck here. But the idea is to go back where it's nice and warm, like Florida, where it's nice and 70 degrees. And what's up, Jammer? And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. The electrical stuff is, for the most part, all the major components are done. The batteries are in, the inverter is in. I can make coffee. I can cook meals. I have Starlink. I have I converted Starlink to run on 12-volt power because it takes a lot less energy than running on 110. I'm not liking the cables Starlink uses because they're so flimsy. Trying to put the normal network connection on the end of it is took 2 hours to do it once, and I've got to redo it because it isn't great. So I'll be spending a couple of days doing that. But the electrical, for the most part, is done. I've got to finish wiring some lights in, and some minor things here and there. But the electrical is pretty much done.
So you're basically, you could be to the point where if you're traveling, for a week straight, basically, you could, you've got the food in there, you've got a place to sleep in there, go camping for a week or 2 weeks,
Yeah. So I actually left Texas on is it Tuesday or a Wednesday? Left Texas, made a stopover in Alabama for a weekend. I met, in fact, I stopped by Darren's place. I met him and his wife, stayed there for a night.
Mayhem Preparedness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Met him, hung out with him for a night and a day. Stopped by a state park, met up with somebody else, was there for the weekend, and then got here, I think, that following Tuesday. So I was on the road and living in it for a week. And just in a week, I discovered, or I found things I didn't like, things I want to change. So when I got here, the first thing I did is I ordered like $3,500 in tools to make a table saw and some other stuff, so I can, do it the way I want it to be done. And one final time.
Cool. And I think about, you were talking about Starlink, and I was gonna, this sort of goes into when we're going to talk about security, online security and stuff like that. But if the power grid goes down where you are, or nationwide or whatever, Starlink would, I guess it would really depend. Would Starlink still function, I suppose? Because if the servers weren't able to transmit that data and stuff, it would still be pointless, right?
I mean, it's going to affect so many things. Yeah, it wouldn't affect the satellites in the sky, but it's got to come back down to Earth and travel through routers and a whole bunch of other things that would be down. So at that point, it's not so much Starlink, it's internet's going to be down. Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But I've also got backups for backups. So I got Starlink at the primary. I have AT&T. I have Verizon. Might look at getting T-Mobile, because they have an unlimited plan for $50 a month. That would have to run on. I'd have to run that on the inverter because it requires 110-volt power. So it wouldn't be as efficient as Starlink. But I've got it between the solar panels and enough batteries. I don't think it would be a major issue, at least for me.
Yeah. Well, and internet. Hey, Teresa, how's it going? Hit the thumbs up. Yeah, hit the thumbs up, everyone. That would be nice. It would be interesting because regardless of what you're talking about with internet, it's sort of local because you've got cell towers, you've got even Starlink. They have the nodes or whatever they call them that bounces the signal off to you. So it's all relatively local. So I mean, internet's sort of spotty. Although, as you're traveling and stuff, if there's an outage that's localized, I suppose Starlink would be a little bit better than some of those other ones. So
It all depends, right? So there may be, if I'm in a state forest and there's a whole lot of trees, I might be better off using a jetpack or
yeah,
something other than Starlink if it can't get a clear view of the sky.
yeah.
So,
Hey,
but
Brandon asks, is that a Verizon base unit? I don't even know what a base unit is.
it's a Verizon jetpack. It's like the size of your cell phone. It's just I don't have it inside with me. It's only about like yay big, that big.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. Yeah, when my internet, me and Brian were doing the show, and my internet was horrible. I ended up buying those and trying. That didn't work. All right, Lisa, we've been ignoring you too long. What are your thoughts on just the average person as far as alternative energy goes? We've got the lights out kit, which is pretty cool. It's got all the important stuff. We've got probably flashlights in almost every drawer of the house.
Yeah, I think I mean, from my point of view and my perspective, I'm glad that you are into that and that you geek out on that. Because from my point of view, as long as I've got lights, that's fine. As long as I've got some way to make electricity, that's fine. I can use the little plugins that have the little the little solar chargers and stuff, and your inverters that have the 110 outlets. Great, I'm fine. You figure out all that other stuff, and I'll be fine with just knowing that I have electricity if I need it.
So you're the typical American. Just show me where to plug it in.
Yep. Show me where to plug it in. I'm good. I'm happy to make. You show me where to plug it in. You control the electricity. I'll keep the house warm. I'll start the fire. I'll use our wood burning stove, and I'll do that. You do the electricity part.
Yeah. And I think that's where you really have to be when it comes to figuring out all these things, because you're not going to be able to power everything. I mean, Kevin, you've got what, 400 amp hours of power or something like that?
It may be a little bit more than that.
But you're not going to be able. I figured it out the other day for what we use in kilowatts, which a kilowatt is 1,000 watts, right?
Yeah.
We use 33 kilowatts a day, just average use. Yep. So you're not going to be able to come anywhere near that in some sort of grid down situation, whether it's a couple days or a couple weeks. Now, with the flashlights, with the batteries, the rechargeables, that's sort of this 100 amp hour battery setup that I've got. And I did a video on this in the past, but it's basically, it's not going to do a lot of the big stuff, right? It's not going to run a hot plate every day. It's going to take me a while to regenerate the electricity if I were to use something that big, but it is going to give the option to recharge some batteries, recharge cell phones, tablets, laptops, even if it's just for entertainment purposes, if it's a short-term type situation. So you got to think about those different things that you're going to need. And I'm sure this is all the math you went through putting your van together, is how much am I going to need? What am I going to not be able to do? What am I going to be able to do? And all of those things.
I did all that back when I had my little off-road camper. I was doing it back then. And the other thing too is you'd be surprised how many, I'll say, leeches you have. So electrical things you have plugged in, but you don't use. And that's chewing up power over time. I don't have any of that. If I have it plugged in, it's being used.
Yeah.
12 volt stuff, it doesn't matter because it's not going through the inverter. But if the inverter is on, I'm using something. And if I'm not using the inverter, I mean, it's, if I'm not making coffee and using my induction cooktop, I could still use my, I have a Coleman 2-burner stove. I have a little pocket rocket stove that doesn't use any power. So I pay more attention to my power needs because I have a limited supply versus when you're at home, you can plug in anything you want. Yeah, you might have a $9,000 bill at the end of the month, but there's pretty much no limitations. If you go around and unplug stuff that you're not using, I bet you that 33 kilowatt hours would go down to maybe 20 or 17.
Oh yeah, I could. I'm already sort of cheap, so I'm sure Lisa's like, no, don't give him any ideas because I could probably figure out ways to get all that stuff down. But it like with Lisa, you're I don't want to say necessarily chicken as far as like candles and well, yes, you are a chicken with candles and things like that, um, but that is, I mean, that is an option for a lot of people. A lot of people have those candles stored. There's glow sticks. There's, yeah. Do they still sell? I believe they still sell kerosene heaters, right?
I haven't went to get. I haven't even looked. I know we had one when we had our property up in the Catskills, but that was 20 some odd years ago. That was the last time we ever had a need for it. I have propane, but not kerosene.
Didn't you buy one, Dale, a while ago? A couple. Well, it's probably been like 10 years, but didn't you buy one? I thought you had
Kerosene
one.
heater?
I thought it was.
Well, I've got the lamp. That's just an oil lamp back there, but I don't think I've ever gotten a kerosene heater because you probably would not even let me turn it on.
No, yeah, no. I am a huge. I don't know. I guess I'm where you guys are like geeking out on the like the solar part of it. I geek out on the safety part of it, and I tend to be on the other end of the spectrum thinking worst case scenario where people have a plan for I've got this plan, then this is my backup, this is my backup to my backup. Well, I'm thinking ahead of okay, so this is a candle burning, this is what could happen, this is what could happen, and then this, and this. So then that's the way my brain thinks. Yeah, I am a chicken when it comes to like open flames and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I think there was actually 2 days ago, I think, it wasn't very far from us. There was a huge barn fire, huge, and 11 horses died. And a guy, one of the grooms, he went in to, I guess, rescue the horses. And he ended up getting, I don't think he got burned, but he had really bad smoke inhalation. But I think it was 11 horses died, 4 were saved. But I mean, and that barn was reduced to like ashes in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, you think about all the things in some sort of disaster scenario that could go wrong. That would, we always talk about how, hey, bugging out, last resort, all that stuff, unless you're Kevin or Liberated Lady, right? Then you're already halfway there.
They're already there.
Yeah. But in a situation like that, you're using candles and things like that. If you're not super careful, kerosene, you got kids that are just goofing around. I mean, things happen all the time. But that could take a situation that was already horrible
and make it
really untenable.
Yeah.
Throwing gas on the flames, as it were.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah. Then, we burned the house down. Hopefully the barn still is standing. Then we're in some sort of sheet metal barn.
Yeah, you won't fit in my van. That's for sure. Well, maybe Lisa might be, but you won't be able to fit in there.
Yeah.
We could turn the barn into a tiny house. The feed barn. We'll turn the feed barn into a tiny house, Dale. It's got the loft. It's fine.
I'll tell you what, my truck, it's got the extended cab. I've even thought about and I just never, I think about a lot of things that I never do, but the extended cab, the back with the couch, basically the big long chair. I thought about making getting a piece of plywood that sort of folded out that I could tuck behind there to make that whole section a bed rather than just the bench seat. Cause I mean, we'd fit on there. We'd be warm. That's for damn sure. Start snoring, we'd beat the crap out of each other, but that would be kind of cool. I mean, there's enough room back there you could actually sleep in it. So in a bug out situation or the situation where we had to evacuate something like that, if we had that, if I ever did make that, I suppose I could just take a piece of plywood, throw it in the bed of the truck, and call it good.
Yeah. And I mean, then you kind of make do with what you have and the situation that's kind of thrust upon you. So
yeah. And we've got the Life PO4 battery, and they've got a couple of the chargers and things like that. Throw them in the truck, and we'd be all right for a little bit.
A couple hours until you realize how much stuff you don't have with you that you need.
Yeah.
Oh, time.
Everything that's in the house on fire. Yeah.
Time to eat. Where's the food? Oh, yeah. How are we going to cook the food? Yeah.
Oh, I got a little bit of that stuff in the truck. It's basically bug out necessities. So there's probably 2 days worth of before I have to figure out other means of getting by. I've probably got 2 days worth of stuff to do that. Plus my bug out bag goes with me back and forth, and Lisa's got hers, which so we'll survive a little bit, but not any sort of long term. We're gonna have to figure out how to get to somewhere else.
Wine.
What's that?
Someone in the comments is asking about who's bringing the wine.
Oh yeah, Charlie. The bug out meetup. Who's bringing the wine? Hey, I'll tell you what. I don't drink, but in a situation where, just watch out, Lisa. In a situation where our house burns down and we're sleeping in the back of the truck,
you'll be drinking.
I'll bring the homemade vanilla because that's vodka. So
I'll be one of those crazy drunks drinking the homemade vanilla and the mouthwash and the. Okay, let's hope that doesn't happen for your sake, Lisa. At any rate, I think with alternative energy, it's really dependent on your situation. We've got Kevin that's in a van a lot of the time, or at least for now anyway. We've got us that live in the house. You've got people that are in apartments and things like that. So it really is dependent on your situation, what your needs are going to be. I think the biggest. The thing that's going to take the most energy, especially like Kevin, you can always stop and build a fire. In an apartment, you can't necessarily build a fire, so you'd have to figure out something like the My Buddy heater or something like that. But that's going to take a lot of energy, whether you're talking about fuel or you're talking about solar, or whatever you're talking about. That's going to take quite a bit of energy, heating and maybe even cooling, I suppose, right? Depending on where you are.
So that's why, and you've heard me, both of you have heard me say this 1,000 times by now. It's all about the planning. So if you chase 70 degrees, you're not going to be using the heater very often. I won't say never, because there are some nights where it could dip down to, make it super cold. But if you follow the weather, you kind of limit your need on having to rely on air conditioning and heat if you just are in the temperature, the temperate areas that are comfortable.
Yeah.
I said that really bad, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Lisa, Brandon said in the chat, he said, that reminds me, please share your vanilla extract process. Pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just vanilla beans, and you don't have to get the grade A vanilla beans. You can get the B ones, and you just split them or cut them into chunks and put them into some vodka. And the cheaper vodka is actually better. And then you just put it like in a dark corner. We have it up on the countertop in the kitchen, and you just leave it alone. Don't do anything with it for like the longer that you leave the vanilla beans in the vodka, the better it gets. So, I mean, we've got vanilla that's 2 or 3, probably 4 years old. That's good vanilla. And it takes a minimum of like 3 months. There are ways that you can make it happen faster. I've heard like with a pressure cooker, but it's easy. You just chop up the vanilla beans, put them into the vodka bottle, and 3 months from now you'll have like a liter or whatever of vanilla.
And cheap vodka works better, right? You were saying?
Yeah, the cheap vodka works better. And I mean, you can get fancy and then maybe do some infused things, like if you wanted to infuse different flavors and stuff into it. But I find it's delicious just like it is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we've gone a little bit longer than I thought we were going to go on this. We still got a couple other, and I believe the medical stuff it might go for a little bit too. If anybody does have any questions on certain medical things, keep in mind Lisa specializes in wound care stuff. Kevin is the wilderness medicine stuff, which lends itself quite a bit to preparedness. Explain. It's been a while since we've talked about this. So your background, you've been you started in the military. You did the Wilderness Safety Institute. Explain what that is and how it sort of lends itself so well to preparedness, or why it does, even if we don't plan on, bugging out to the middle of the woods or anything like that, which we shouldn't.
Well, I mean, you're getting training. So any training is good as long as it's good training. Wilderness medicine is basically when resources are more than an hour away. So if the hospital is 4 hours away, if EMS is over an hour away, and you have to, make do until help arrives, whether that's an hour, a weekend, a week. But what makes it work is proper planning, because it's not, wilderness medicine is not taking, oh, I broke my leg, let me cut down a tree and wrap it together. No, it's planning beforehand. What am I going to need? Depending on the environment, who's with me, all kinds of different things. And it's a lot goes into, hey, there is no hold my beer and watch this. There's no, don't do that. No. Stop it before it becomes a problem.
It's not
Before it
Hollywood.
becomes a problem. Yeah. And just having the things that you're most likely going to need, including the training and the mindset, and making plans for if you have to call somebody and there's no cell phone coverage, you can, you have a satellite phone, or you have a method to communicate and get help from somebody.
Yeah. And see that you basically, you talked about if you're going on a trip, a hike, or wherever you're going out to the middle of the woods. But basically, there's no difference with what you just said, no difference between that and planning for some sort of disaster or emergency situation where the grid may be down, or, medical help, the hospitals could be just inaccessible for one reason or the other. And you've got to either wait it out, or, keep the situation tenable until you can figure out an alternative for that. So, yeah, it's all that stuff that's really important to learn, I think. And what you were talking about is the beforehand stuff as well. That's what we do in preparedness too, is learn about all these different things. Lisa's probably got, I don't know, 4 first aid kits. I'm sure in your truck you've got, well, and that's not even counting the horses. In your van, I'm sure you've got quite a bit of different stuff that how to use, that I wouldn't have any idea how to use, and would, and Lisa's probably the same thing. I'll go through her first aid kit looking for a damn Band-Aid or some tape or something, and see all sorts of weird crap in there that I don't know what the hell it is.
There's no Band-Aids in my first aid kit, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had a little Ziploc bag. There's like a dozen or so in there. They've been in there for like 10 years.
Yeah, I do have Band-Aids, but they are in the upstairs. They're like in just the general like linen closet where we have like all the extra stuff. There's boxes of Band-Aids in there, but my first aid kit does not have Band-Aids. So don't go looking for Band-Aids, Dale, in my first aid kit.
I remember that now, because the last time I did, that's when you just said, grab some gauze and some tape, make a damn Band-Aid.
That's what a Band-Aid is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lisa, what are some for the average person, since we're on this medical stuff, for the average person, some of the supplies, not necessarily supplies yet. What are some of the most, I guess, most common or things that we should think about before we're thinking about amputations and bullet wounds and things like that? If it's a disaster that's going to last, from a couple days to a few weeks, nothing that is much longer than that, because I think if you go longer than that, there's so many variables you really don't know, right? I mean, if the grid was down for 2 months, good. I mean, holy moly, that would be, who knows? That would be chaos. But shorter term disaster, closer to home type things, what are, I guess, something that we could come across that are more common, rather than bullet wounds? I suppose tetanus might be one, right? You're out working.
Oh, dude, keep it simple. Like blisters.
Yeah,
I think it's like one of the number one things that people overlook or don't think about at all until you happen to get a blister. And then if it pops and you're not ready for it to pop, I've seen people lose an entire leg because they had a blister on their toe and it got infected, and it just travels right up the leg. It gets in your bloodstream. Just keep it basic. Blisters, small cuts. Infection is the key. The whole thing. And Lisa, jump in here. You want to prevent infection. No matter what it is, prevent it from getting infected.
Well, the
Sort of.
biggest way that you're going to keep something from getting infected is keeping your skin intact, because your skin is the largest organ of your body, and your skin protects everything on the inside of you from the outside world. So if you can keep your skin intact, you're off to a good start.
Yep.
Sort of like making sure your house doesn't start on fire, right?
Yes.
If you can keep your house from starting on fire, and you keep your body from starting on fire, you're going to be good. And if you do let it go, if you are a Dale and you rub some clean dirt on it or some dirty dirt on it, and you do let it go and you just act like, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it. It could be the same type of situation. I was joking about it, but it could be a situation where it's already terrible. It's already sucks. And now it's worse, not only for you, but the people that have to take care of you.
Well, that could be a life threat. I mean, literally, that could, what
Definitely.
Kevin was saying, a blister, that can turn into a life-threatening injury.
Oh, yeah.
Something as small as a blister.
You can die of sepsis within 24 hours. Sepsis is the poisoning of the blood, basically, due to an infection.
Gunpilot said, I just dumped gallons of mercurochrome on everything like mom did. My mom never used mercurochrome. I've only heard like Eddie Murphy make jokes about it, and I've heard people talk about it, but
You're a lucky man.
What is mercurochrome? Did you ever use it, Lisa? No, your mom never did. Well, she's a nurse
I
too,
grew
so
up with
maybe.
it. Yeah, it burns.
Does it?
Hey, real quick, there are some good questions in the chat. So Charlie Grace is asking, should people keep general antibiotics on hand? There was a comment about learning to use a tourniquet, ankle and wrist sprains. And there was another one in here somewhere. So yeah, like we could be talking about this for another day. Seriously.
Sprains is a good one though, because that is one of those most common type things that we're looking at trauma kits and all that stuff, but we don't think about that stuff.
Here's a good starting point. Start off by building your own first aid kit. Buy the individual components so you know exactly what you have. Put them in a bag. Make sure you know how to use everything. And then think about what are the likely things that you're going to encounter day to day. Maybe you get a hangnail. Okay, you grab some clippers. Have some Band-Aids. Have some of the really basic stuff. Then go out and take a class. And if you learn how to use something in the class, then add that to your kit.
I would highly, highly encourage everyone to take a Stop the Bleed class.
Yep.
Because that is where you're going to learn how to use like the cat tourniquets.
Yep.
Those things are so cool, and you'll actually get to put them on your partner, and you get to practice with them.
As long as they're the blue ones.
Yes, and you get to see what it feels like to have a tourniquet on, and it's not even close to the amount of pressure that you actually need.
Mm-hmm.
But it just shows you, I mean, it's really cool. And I think a lot of the Stop the Bleed classes, I mean, you can just look online and you'll be able to find them. They are all over the place. And I would encourage anyone, even if you are a medical professional, if you've never taken one, you should totally take it because it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, even when I did my prepper med class out there,
yes,
I'm pretty sure I demonstrated the tourniquet and how long it took. I think I put it on myself and showed how long it took for my arm to turn blue.
Mm-hmm.
And it was maybe 30 seconds.
It doesn't take very long at all. And those things, holy cow, when you start cranking on it, Dale can tell you, they hurt.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because then you do learn how to use it. You learn how to use it. Let's say that you're alone and you have an injury, a limb-threatening injury. You're bleeding out, like you cut your finger off or something, so you're bleeding all over the place. So you can put the tourniquet on yourself. You can do it one-handed, and that class will show you how to do it.
Yeah, the standard is to self-administer a tourniquet. The first tourniquet within 30 seconds and the second tourniquet within 1 minute. That was the TCCC standard. I don't know if it's been updated recently. It's been a while since I've taken or taught that class, but that used to be the standard, at least in the military. But yeah, having it and knowing how to use it. And then that also gives you, so when you hear about, oh, say this or tell the patient it's going to hurt. No, you know it's going to hurt. So when you tell them this is gonna hurt, no, it's like, no, this is gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Get ready.
It's not gonna be fun.
It's a
But
lot different than just mouthing the words, because you're
yeah.
gonna say it and you're gonna mean it.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been
Yeah.
there, done that. So it's like, okay. And I think that actually that is really helpful for not only the person that you might be helping, but for yourself. If you find yourself in a position that you have to do something like this, you have to do first aid for somebody, you have to put a dressing on someone, you have to, wrap an ACE wrap around a wrist sprain or an ankle sprain,
Mm-hmm.
because to help them get out from wherever they're at, or just knowing, like, what do you do if you have something like that? Well, ice and elevation, those are going to be your friends, not
Yep.
heat. You want ice and elevation, but just having that knowledge, I think it's going to make you a more valuable asset to probably your family,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as, any group that you are potentially with, because you have that background. And if you start actually putting it into practice and using it, you're going to be a lot more confident in it too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Hey, real quick, I was halfway listening to the beginning of what you guys were talking about. So, but
So
everybody
that's
in
your
the
solar, Dale. So this is the medical part is your solar, right?
well, I was putting a poll up.
Oh,
Kentucky Goatman asked me to put a poll up about who stocks antibiotics. So I was doing that, and it was hard to pay attention. We will get into antibiotics here in a second, though. I'll let this poll go. I just want to let everyone know. Go ahead and answer that poll question, whether you stock antibiotics or not, and then we'll get into that later. And I had a segue, and it's gone. So
It's gone.
woo!
yeah. You guys were talking about the sprains. You guys were talking about the tourniquets and all of those different things, and learning about that stuff beforehand. The different classes. All American Prepper in the chat is talking about the Stop the Bleed classes.
Yep.
All of those things are really important. Did you guys mention? Like I said, wasn't listening, but pressure dressings. I think pressure dressings could be. For there's so many different applications that would be useful for, not just huge cuts and things like that.
And those are in most basic first aid classes. I know I used to teach basic first aid from 5 or 6 different agencies, and that was a standard in that 4-hour class. So you're
Yeah.
going to learn pressure dressing. You're going to learn the difference between a dressing and a now my brain just went, what? A dressing and a bandage. You'll learn the difference of the two.
What the heck is the difference between a dressing and a bandage?
One is sterile, one is not.
Okay.
Miss Rude.
See, I
See,
learned
everything you
something.
deal with is sterile, so you don't have to worry about that.
No, I would say most of the things I deal with, like the different types of dressings, yes, they are sterile when they come out of the packaging.
Right.
But
Yep.
yeah, I guess I just never knew that. Thanks, Kevin.
Welcome. I saw a question in here: staples or stitches?
No,
Tape. Tape.
no,
Just forget
Tape.
the stitches. Forget the staples.
No staples, no
Forget it.
stitches. Kevin, have you ever done staples
Yeah.
or stitches? Okay.
Yep.
I got to do staples on
They're
someone.
pretty cool, right?
Well, it was really cool because, okay, so I'm going to gross people out. But so this guy, he had a transmet amputation, and that means they cut off all of his toes were gone. So he was a post-op patient, and he had no blood flow to his lower leg. So there's no blood going on. So he wasn't healing. Well, when he came in, and I can't really show you, but his incision looked like a mouth. It was open.
Right.
So one of the doctors I worked with, he's like, "Hey, let's throw some staples in it." He was like, "Have you ever stapled?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Do you want to?" And I'm like, "Okay, why not?" And I mean, okay, so this guy, we didn't give him any numbing medication. We didn't give him anything. And I'm sitting there using this staple gun and stapling. Now, I had the doctor helping me, so he was pulling the edges of the skin together.
Right. Yeah.
So then I'm pushing the stapler in, and it was really fast, but
I'm surprised there's no lidocaine, nothing.
no, he had no. I mean, he has neuropathy. He couldn't
Okay,
feel
so he's
it.
not
He
gonna feel it
couldn't
anyway.
feel
So
it.
yeah, okay.
He's just like, and I'm going, "Oh my god!" I'm like stapling this guy's foot back together. But yeah, he ended up losing his leg eventually. So no, but I mean, But yeah, it's a lot harder than you think it will be to
Yes.
do something like that.
Yes. And a lot of this thing, a lot of the suturing and the stapling, and I know people think it's all sexy and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Like I was trained by physicians how to do this stuff across multiple courses. And that's the last portion of like a 48-hour course of instruction. That's like the last half hour is getting to actually do it. Because what happens if someone's allergic to the suturing material? What are you going to do? I mean, it's not like you'll know an hour before it happens. It happens, and it's like, okay, now what?
Well, and then I mean, if you're doing different layers of sutures, like you have the deep sutures that are the internal ones, and a lot of people actually do have some sort of reaction to those, and it's not good when they come in and they've got it's an allergic reaction, but it looks like an infection going, and they have to take them back and take those sutures out because their body's reacting to it.
Or if you put them a little bit too tight and you didn't notice it until after you're halfway through with the surface section, and now you have to undo the surface section, take those out, go back in, remove the deep ones because they're too tight. Just pressure.
Just do a pressure bandage or pressure dressing. Is that
the easiest thing to do? And yes, you can use super glue, but some people can have an allergic reaction. It depends on the actual glue. There's a lot of things you can do. I mean, I used to give a whole weekend of wound closure and wound management stuff for the field where we used super glue. We used all kinds of things. Keep it simple. The other thing is you don't want to open yourself up to liability. You know, you whip out a suture kit on your buddy while you're out camping and something goes south and you don't realize it. And then he goes home, his wife sees it or someone sees it. He goes to the doctor and all of a sudden your best friend is now suing you because he's losing a finger because you want to be cool. And yeah, it's not worth it. Just keep it simple.
So put legal documents in your first aid kit. Make sure you can't get sued.
Just don't be an idiot. Just if you aren't specifically trained by physicians in that, don't even think about it.
Yeah. Hey, real quick here, a couple questions. Tiger, or this is a comment, not a question, but I've got another question. You said you'd be very surprised how tough skin is. Don't forget that.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, how queasy you might be trying to.
That's actually a really good point because you don't know until you're actually doing something, or even if you just see it, you might pass out. So then someone's having to take care of you because you just passed out.
Or somebody else passes out because they see you doing it. Now you have two people.
And then you got two patients. Yes.
Liberated Lady was saying earlier, you're making her cringe, Lisa. And
I can't believe. I'm sorry, Liberated Lady. I can't believe I'd make you cringe.
You should see some of the pictures I get to see. It's completely disgusting.
Oh, Dale, I can send you pictures if you want.
No, I'm good. I'll wait till I have to see him. Anyway, Jammer had made a comment here. He said after my stabbing last week, he had cut his finger and basically bled like a stuck pig last week. I was wondering if they make tourniquets for digits. Or what would you do? Would that be? I mean, that would be
so a tourniquet can be. I mean, they use tourniquets in surgery. You can make a tourniquet. It's called a tourniquet that looks like a condom for your finger. It's anything that restricts the blood supply. Basically, it stops the blood from going past that point.
They'll call them a tourniquet. That's what they call them in our ORs. They're tourniquets.
Yeah. So you can have
rubber band and wrap it around there like 14 times.
You can have for your finger, for your arm, for your leg. I mean, you can have tourniquets, not for your neck. So don't go buying a tourniquet for your significant other for Christmas to put it on their neck.
Hey, that depends on how the relationship's going, right?
I'm not going there.
Just kidding.
Direct pressure, elevation. Forget that. That's been disproven. That a whole bunch of studies were done. Don't worry about raising it. Put pressure on it. And then the biggest thing is call 911. If it's bad, call 911. Don't try and be a hero. Call the people who know what they're doing, or go to an urgent care. go find somebody who knows a lot more than you and let them take care of it.
Yeah. Hey, Denise said here in the chat, if you've ever raised a daredevil, it's good practice for emergency situations. Yeah, it's a good thing Lisa's a nurse because her son, Corey, motorcycles, drift racing. I mean, you name it. He's he is that dude. No fear whatsoever. Our granddaughter is going to be exactly the same way. But yeah, I mean, it is good practice. You get some teenage boys and that are roughhousing, and even girls too. Yeah, it's good practice knowing how to do that stuff, and not, my mom would try to avoid the hospital as much as possible just because we didn't have a whole lot of money. So there were a lot of things that, if you know how to do those, there are some things where you absolutely have to go to the hospital or have to go to the doctor. No way around it whatsoever. But or if you don't, then it leads to those bigger issues like the infections and things like that. But yeah, you do learn a lot by sort of DIYing it yourself and knowing what you can do and what you can't do and being smart about that.
And knowing what you shouldn't do. Yeah.
Yeah, what you shouldn't do. That's a good point.
Yeah. And like, I'm sort of the same way with going to the doctor, and the whole rub the dirt on it thing is sort of a joke, but truer than I'd like to say. But, like Lisa's father, and I'll let you give as much information out as you want, but just had scraped himself sanding.
He didn't even
thought it was no
it.
big deal, and probably thought the same thing as me. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, it didn't apparently, because I asked my mom, she said it didn't even break the skin. But somehow his hand blew up like huge. His hand looks like a baseball glove. I haven't even shown Dale the pictures yet, but
feel free to share with me if you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's because that was the first thing I asked her. His hand was huge, swollen. I'm like, what the heck did he do? I was like, because he was sanding something. And I was like, well, did he break the skin? Did he accidentally sand his skin? She's like, nope, not that we can see. So no break in the skin, nothing. And then his hand just blew up, and he was in the hospital, I think, since Monday on IV vancomycin, and the swelling is going down. So some kind of an infection, no fractures, nothing like that. And it's just like, that is weird. So.
Yeah. Any splinters?
No, I didn't ask about splinters. Could have been. That could have been too, but I don't know. But I was like, that's creepy.
Hey, Charlie said here in the chat, the only good thing that came out of COVID was at least most of us know how to wash our hands now.
That's true.
I suppose that's the whole glass half full thing, because there are a lot of bad things about what happened, but it did get people alert to just the sanitation and all of that stuff, the things that you should do that we all just take for granted every day. And now that it's over, people are probably back to just taking everything for granted. But as far as me, with Lisa being a nurse and Kevin and Brian, being friends and all that, I sort of have more understanding than the average person. But as preppers, we think about those things. So when they were talking about what types of masks work and this and that, right? The N95. And we sort of already knew what an N95 could do, what a regular surgical mask could do, how pointless a bandana was, all those different things. But yeah, I guess that the whole point was, yes, that was a great comment, because if there's anything good about that whole, I'm going to cuss here, but that whole situation, it is
to cuss your channel.
People up to the sanitation aspect and being smart about everything. Real quick, the sutures and all that in this poll, or not the sutures. I got sutures on my brain now because we were just talking about that. The antibiotics, and I think it was Charlie that asked this question earlier as well about do you stock antibiotics? In this poll, we've got 14 votes right now, so it's not indicative of the entire preparedness community or anything like that. It's just a poll, but it's almost split down the middle. 43% say yes, they do stock them. 57% though say they don't, and we are in the category of don't. We talked about this a little bit last week. My opinion on it is, if you can get something like Jace, and you feel like it's a necessity and you want to do it, you've got the money for it, go for it. But know what you're doing with them. And I think Jace even has pamphlets that tell you what cases they're good for and all that. But I just don't know that we've talked about how the most likely scenarios and all that, and maybe when you're talking about keeping infection down, maybe that is a good case use for having, or whatever the hell I'm trying to say, a good reason why you should have antibiotics, right? What are your guys' thoughts on this? I'm confusing myself talking, so why don't you guys start going?
Well, this is Lisa's wheelhouse. I'll jump in if she kind of gets off track, but I doubt that.
I mean, antibiotics have their purpose, but a lot of bacteria is now resistant to antibiotics. So, I mean, even in what I see on a daily basis, half the time it's like someone doesn't necessarily need to have an antibiotic, but if you're like in a, poop hits the fan type situation, I can see where it would be valuable. But at the same time, does that mean I'm going to stockpile antibiotics? No. Because what happens if Dale comes down with, I don't know, Giardia or something that he could potentially need an antibiotic for? What if I give him the wrong one? So then not only am I not helping him, but I'm potentially harming him more, because like when you take antibiotics, like just because you're on antibiotics, I'm sure a lot of you know that one of the side effects is diarrhea. But that's because not only do the antibiotics kill the good bacteria or the bad bacteria, it kills the good bacteria in your gut. So then you get the diarrhea. But if you're on antibiotics for like an extended period of time, or even other reasons, certain antibiotics will kill certain bacteria, and then you end up with a really bad type of diarrhea called C. diff. That's not fun for anyone. Then it's just, there's so many variables that potentially could happen if you are taking antibiotics and you don't know if you're on the right one, or you're, giving someone the right antibiotic, or if they even need an antibiotic. Sometimes they don't need antibiotics. Sometimes it's a virus, and viruses they're not treated with an antibiotic. Only bacteria is treated. The antibiotics will kill the bacteria, but it's not going to affect a virus. So,
Plus, if you need to take an entire round and you've only got a certain amount of them left,
right?
You have a certain amount, and someone needs to take them for the full course. Now you're talking to a 2-week supply is gone. Now what happens when someone really, really needs it?
Right.
And you've only got enough for
3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lori said my husband had C. diff and vancomycin was the only thing that would get rid of it.
Yeah.
Did you see how that word just flowed off my tongue? I actually said it right.
You did. You are so good, Dale.
You've awesome. Probably said it a few times. So
I think we've said it a few times today, because that's what Papa is on. He's on vancomycin.
Oh, that's probably why. Yeah. I go upstairs in the bathroom in the mirror and I practice whenever you say those big words. I practice a few times before the show. Just kidding. I don't care about mispronouncing them. But speaking of your father too, like in a SHTF disaster type situation where his hand blows up like that, even if you had a Lippincotts drug guidebook, even if you had the Jace things like that, would you really know what to give him?
No,
because you don't know what's causing it.
No, so if he was here, I'd be looking at his hand saying, "You need to go to urgent care." Because, they live in Texas. So if they were visiting, I'd be like, you need to go to urgent care, because I have no idea. So I give them anti-inflammatories for like in a shit hits the fan situation, and try to find somebody that
maybe some NSAIDs, depending on what's going on. Yeah.
Maybe some ibuprofen, as long as, he can't take ibuprofen because he is on a blood thinner. So no NSAIDs for him. So it's things like that. And then even some antibiotics interact with blood thinners. So then that's where the drug guidebook would be really, really helpful. Because if people have chronic kidney disease, they can't take anti-inflammatories, or ibuprofen, Advil, naproxen, naproxen. Can't take any of that.
But yeah, the key word is contraindications. Know what that means. And people don't think about that very often. I can just take that. They can't.
That's why I like to tell patients when they come in and they're like, well, what about this? And what about this? I'm like, I don't know. Let's try this. I'm like, why do you think we call it practicing medicine? We're going to try it and see if it works.
Brandon said, shot of whiskey, Motrin, and change your socks.
And don't forget the clean dirt.
Clean dirt.
Yeah, clean dirt. Yep. That's the most important part. I've got a couple vials of that in my first aid kit.
Is it sterile?
One of them is. One of
okay.
them's right next to the bandages, which are not sterile, I think, right?
Good.
Hey, he paid attention. I'm impressed now.
Yeah. That was luck. Plan B said, gotta go. Thanks, Lisa Dale. And the Broken Nomad, TBN. I was like, who's TBN? I forgot Kevin's Broken Nomad. All right. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to get into the cyber stuff today. I think what we're going to do, because Kevin's going to be on in the future, and we're going to talk a little bit more about solar and his truck, his van.
We could have part 2 of this next week.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. And then get into some of that cyber stuff, because I want to talk about not necessarily like the encrypted messages and all that stuff, but how we can sort of stay safe. And is it even, possible these days to protect your information and all that stuff?
Yeah,
so
it is.
Before we get out of here, though, if anyone has any sort of questions for Lisa, for Kevin, about gear, procedures, any sort of wound care stuff, all that, make sure, leave a comment real quick. I'll give it a couple seconds to get out of here. And I did have one more question for Lisa, and I forgot what it was. So do you have any sage advice, parting advice for everyone as far as whether it's supplies you should have, types of first aid kits? Oh, that's what my question was. Go ahead and I'll ask my question.
No, ask your question, because I'll tell them in a second. Ask your question.
I was going to get your guys' thoughts, because they were talking about it in the chat, on pre-made kits versus build your own.
Build your own every time.
Yeah, and I tend to agree, but I also think there are cases to be made for. I got to make sure I phrase this right, because this is going to sound, because some of the crap you buy is cheap Chinese made in China pieces of crap, and is not going to do you any good in an SHTF situation.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can get one of those kits that have cool pouches and things like that, and put your own stuff in them.
Yeah.
And use that stuff as like practice, rather than using the good stuff. So if you get a good
Medical has some cool kits. They're not a full blown kit, but it's like an ankle thing that'll hold 2 tourniquets, a pair of shears, and maybe a flashlight. So depending on what you're getting, or if you're looking for like shears or tourniquets, go to reputable. Amazon is always the first place people want to go. Don't go to Amazon, because a lot of that is cheap Chinese crap that's not worth it, depending on what you're looking for. Matt Medical is one of them. What's the other one? Brian used to work for him. Yeah.
North American Rescue.
North American Rescue. Yeah. North American Rescue. That's where you want to get the tourniquets from. There's the approved list of tourniquets on the Commission on TCCC. The cat tourniquet has always been ranked as the number 1. There's a few others that are approved. But just because it's a tourniquet doesn't mean it's worth a whole lot. There's in the industry, we tend to poo-poo on a certain number of popular ones because they suck. I would never use them.
Yeah.
Most everyone I know would never use them, but whatever. Don't go cheap on medical supplies. You can go cheap on like a box of gauze from CVS or some of the basic kind of supplies. Don't cheap out on like tourniquets. Cat tourniquets. When I was buying them, they were like $26. I bought like a couple $100 worth. They're now like $40. That's still a decent price.
Yeah.
But don't be very careful, because those are the most copied and the most counterfeited tourniquets. And where they need to work is where they always break. And that's not what you want to happen.
Yeah. Got one more question here, but before I do
Wait,
that,
let
Brandon
Lisa
is
answer
over
that.
on Rumble.
I know Lisa had some input on that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if you, I would say, make your own kit. And I actually have on my own YouTube channel, and this is going to sound silly, but it's the Budget Equestrian. But I recently did, within the last 6 months, I revamped my horse first aid kit, which, believe it or not, a lot of the things in the horse first aid kit are things that you can use for people. And I have a huge toolbox. It's a rolling toolbox, and it has 3 separate compartments. And typically I keep that out in the barn because it's the horse first aid kit. But right now, since it's wintertime, I have it in the garage because I don't want all of the stuff that's in there to freeze. But that rolling toolbox, it's a Husky rolling toolbox. And I think they're actually on sale right now because of the holidays. But that thing is so awesome. I have 3 separate compartments. It's on wheels. It rolls around like a suitcase. And I have that thing packed and stacked full of gauze, bandages, I mean, vet wrap, tons of stuff. And it's awesome. So I would say go with a home or make your own kit. Actually, no, Dale doesn't have his other one. I have another homemade first aid kit in the barn too, which is I made out of a DeWalt toolbox, like a DeWalt drill. I turned that into a first aid kit. But there's all kinds of ways to make first aid kits. The rolling toolbox though, that's the best.
My first aid kit for the last 10 years has been a 1-gallon Ziploc bag with a whole bunch of other quart-sized Ziploc bags inside of it. And that's in my backpack.
That's perfect.
It has
See,
everything I need, including, the Silver Zorb. And one really quick note on tourniquets. If you buy a tourniquet, buy 3. Don't just buy 1, buy 3.
Yeah, you never know where they're gonna be necessary and all that. Yeah.
Sometimes 1, if it's on your thigh and you have a meaty thigh, it might take 2 or 3 to stop the bleeding if you hit the femoral artery.
Hey, one thing before I've got another question here from Charlie, but Brandon, I was going to say Brandon is over on Rumble, and he's like one of the only people over there commenting. With this software I'm using now, I'm able to pull up comments from Rumble now. So if you are one of those Rumble watchers, I can actually see your comments and pay attention and all that stuff. At any rate, one Kentucky Goatman asked Lisa, "What was that drug book?" And then these kind of go together. Charlie asked, "Is there a book everyone should keep?" And this is, I suppose, for both of you. Is there a book everyone should keep with them when they're traveling regarding first aid or wound care? What are a couple? The Lippincott's was the first one that came to mind for me. Are there any good?
Yeah, you've got one behind you. In fact, you even had him on a guest. Is it last year?
Oh, 4G.
Yeah.
Yes. That is an excellent, excellent book.
Yep.
That's the book that I would suggest for
I don't remember where I put it.
aid.
If you could have one book, yeah, and I have books, they're in storage somewhere, but if you're gonna have a book, that's the one I'd recommend.
That's a really good one because he's a doctor, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. He's awesome.
One of the original wilderness medicine doctors.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that guy is so cool. And then the other one is he's what?
He's a hoot.
Yeah, he was really neat. And then Lippincott's drug book, Lippincott's Nursing Drug Guide. That's the one that we found or that we have. You can find those on eBay. It doesn't have to be Lippincott's. You can that's just a brand, but you can just type in Nursing Drug Guide and that will bring up a whole list of the different brands. And you don't have to have the latest and greatest. When we were looking, Dale, didn't we see them for like $5?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were really affordable.
I think that's called the Prepper Medical Handbook or something to that like that. It's Dr. William Forgy though. Yeah, and it's got a lot. I mean,
that book is thorough.
Yeah, more than you'll ever need. But if you've got a question, it's most likely in there. Yeah. I'm trying to find because he did his book. He came out with that one. You had him on as a guest because I know I was on for that one. Mm-hmm. But he's got a number of wilderness medicine books. Any one of them
you're not wasting your money. I mean, there's Dr. Forgy, and there's a few others that have written that have books on that subject. There's a few that are not as good. I wouldn't recommend, but Forgy, definitely anything he writes is definitely good.
Yeah. And I don't know about Doom and Bloom. I've never read any of their stuff, so I can't say one way or another. But I assume with them being in the medical field and them being preppers that, there's probably some valuable information there. But again, I don't know. I haven't read any of their stuff.
I know they advocate for learning how to suture.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was going to say. I think they even have suturing classes, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't follow them. I don't watch or listen to them. I think I hope they have a lot of insurance. I'll put it that way. I hope they have a lot of insurance for the day they have to go into court.
I tell you what, though, that is a really popular thing in preparedness.
Because everybody wants to learn how to do it because it's cool, but it's not cool. What's cool is not suturing.
Suturing a pig is cool.
I guess.
I don't know.
It sounds like work.
I think it would be kind of cool just to learn it as a skill and see if I could do it and what kind of mess it would look like afterwards, but not on a human.
I learned how to do it on
taking one of those classes.
Or on a banana. The reason being, you poke a banana and it starts to bruise within minutes, and you get to learn really quick. Oh, that's not going to work.
So, all right, guys, I think we are going to get out of here finally. I said we were going to get out of here 15 minutes ago, and everybody in the chat was like, all right, bye, thank you. And we talked for 10 more minutes, but very, very informative, fun show. Always fun talking with you two. Kevin mentioned maybe we will do next week with me and him talking about some of the solar stuff. You're welcome to join, Lisa, but you would sit here and just be silent and bored.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll just watch you in my craft room. I'll just be crafting and I'll be watching you guys.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon put in the chat, hashtag this is not medical advice. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right, I appreciate it. Like I said, next week, if anybody does have any questions about, online security, stuff like that, anything about solar, any topics that you'd like me and Kevin to talk about, send me an email, dale@survivalistprepper.net, and I can write those down and all that. But I appreciate you both being out. That makes it easy for me.
You can
bug out location. Your bug out location, Dale.
Oh yeah. Now that I've told everyone goodbye, and there's probably 5 people left. I've been working on. I got called out a little bit by Alpha Tango for not. Well, he just asked where I've been. He didn't necessarily call me out, and I was like, I've been so busy. I've been working on a lot of at the bug out location, the 30 days to preparedness course. I've got that set up where if you want, it's half price. So if you go to thebugoutlocation.net/30 days. And then put in 30 days as the coupon code, you'll get it for half price. And you can get 14 days full access to the whole bug out location for just $4 more. So for $11, you can get 2 weeks. You can get in there. You can download all the crap you want. And you don't have to worry about recurring payments and all that stuff. But I've been working on that, and I've been working on putting some more courses together. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I've been doing, and not a lot in front, but been doing a lot over at the bug out location. But you can find that at the B.O.L.net or thebugoutlocation.net. It helps support the show. We've also got the community. Kevin's part of the community. Lisa's not much for social media these days, so she's not in there yet, but we'll get her in there. Even if she was a member, she would only be on there like once every 3 months. But it's a really fun community, talking about preparedness, going back and forth with everybody that's sort of like-minded and all this stuff, and bouncing things off each other. It's really great. People of all levels, very beginning preppers, people that don't necessarily consider them preppers, to all the way up to people that have just been doing this forever. So very cool group.
And that supports pictures, so you can actually upload a picture of what you're talking about to show it off or explain or whatever. That's pretty cool.
I could screen share, but I've already told people we're leaving 3 times now.
Save it for next time.
Yeah, I will. I'll talk about it at the beginning of the show next time.
There we go.
So at any rate, everyone in the chat, everyone that joined in, everyone that's still here listening to me ramble, I appreciate y'all joining this week. Kevin and Lisa, appreciate you both joining me to this week. And until next time, take care and prepare, everyone. We will talk to y'all later.
See y'all later.
Bye.